From Beverly Hills to New York City, the Real Housewives have become ingrained in our social fabric, whether you like it or not. And I'm so excited because my first guest today is one of my absolute favorites. She is an icon. It's Heather Gay from Salt Lake City. Hi, Heather. It is so nice
Thanks
to
for
meet you.
having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
I want to start by throwing it back a few years. What was life like before you were on Housewives? What were you doing? What was a day in the life like for Heather? Kind of what was going on?
Well, immediately before Housewives even entered my, realm at all, I was a single divorced mom, not even able to say the word divorce out loud. I would just refer to I couldn't say ex either. I would say the girl's father. I just was like in this kind of paralyzed state of not being able to have a future. I did not know how to function in my community and in my world as a single mom. I didn't have any friends that were single. I didn't have any examples of single Mormon moms, and I just felt adrift. But I've always kind of been an entrepreneur, so I had this business that I started. And so my life right before Housewives was me on the outside functioning as a successful businesswoman. I was building a company that was struggling but growing and was having a little bit of success. And then but emotionally, I was just kind of, to put it simply, dead inside. I just was,
Right.
I was fun. I, had friends. I did things, but I still felt dead inside.
And so then how did who did you get an email? Did you see something about casting and you reach out? Did someone come to you? How did that look? Was someone in
No,
getting a
it
treatment?
was my dear friend, Lisa Barlow.
Oh,
Dear friend, Lisa Barlow
okay.
reached out, and she knew that I had started this business. She had collaborated on the business with me and had provided a bartender and the finest spirit, the Vita tequila, and had really supported me in the business. And so she knew kind of my story and my life and my connections and said, I'm doing a reality show. I think you'd be great for it. It's about women in business in Utah.
Right. I
And
mean, did she say it was Housewives? Because obviously you know what the Real
no,
Housewives is.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it wasn't Housewives. And we were so small and so insulated that it never even occurred to us that it could be Housewives. I mean, who watches Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? It's like watching Real Housewives of Lincoln, Nebraska,
Yeah.
which probably would be the best franchise ever. Note to Bravo,
Yeah.
get cameras in Nebraska. So I just thought it was going to be like one of those local news specials. And she just said, if someone's going to call you, and just be on alert. But I had heard her say that for about a year before I actually got a text from a casting director. And so because I thought it was so small potatoes, I just didn't, it was nothing. It was
Right.
just, hey, this is Joey from Invent TV. Do you have time for a Zoom call? And I was like, sure. And he Zoomed me. And then the rest is three seasons of history, I
Three
should
seasons
say.
in, which knowing now what you know and what you've gone through and kind of how life has changed, if you could take all the knowledge and go back in time 4 years, would you do it again?
Yes, yes,
Good
a
answer.
thousand times yes, yes.
Let's talk about the book because the show I feel like has opened so many doors. I can just imagine how good it's been for business. Let's talk about the book. Tell me all about it.
Well, the show, the reason I would do the show a thousand times over is because not only the people I have met and the community that it has created in my life, but the fact that it has given me the opportunity to write this book. And if I were dead inside before, this was my spring awakening, writing my story, owning my story, and really having a little compassion for myself and kind of where I came from and why I'm as messed up as I am. Because when you start to look back on your life with both affection and regret, you really can see things clearly. You know how we
Mm,
always say hindsight's 2020,
yep.
and writing a book when you have written journals since you were 5 years old, from the earliest age that I could write, we keep journals. That's kind of a Mormon thing. And I was a good Mormon and I had journals. So I could go back and little things would trigger my memories. And writing the book was an opportunity that would have only happened if I had been a Real Housewife. And I think it's going to be my greatest legacy.
Wow. We will be right back after the break. So not still a practicing Mormon.
I'm not a practicing Mormon. I stopped attending church about 6 months before we started filming Housewives.
Okay.
And I mean, it's so hard to remember because COVID hit and everyone stopped attending church. So
Right.
I'm kind of part of that fall off of the Mormons that came during COVID, but my journey just started about a year before.
I have a super controversial question, and you'll tell me if this is like a horrible comparison to draw, because I kind of get the sense from what I've seen and what I've heard, leaving the church is not easy, and they kind of hound you a little bit, and they don't make it difficult. Is it kind of like other like Scientology level, like when you hear Leah Remini talk about leaving the Church of Scientology and then leaving the Mormon Church? Is it that kind of a level of intensity with leaving it?
I think based on what I have heard Leah Remini talk about and like everybody that has left other high demand religions, it's very similar. I mean, I only know my experience.
Right.
I think when you're in a high demand religion that has defined every life choice you've ever made and has given you a very set code of success and metric of success, when you leave that, it is very difficult to leave. It's difficult to leave because the community is so insular and they don't want you to leave, but you don't want to leave because you don't know where to go.
Right. Does it make it? Sorry, I'm so curious about it. Does it make
Not
it then?
anything.
Is it like nerve wracking to then get on a net or international platform and talk about it? Like, are you like does it in the back of your mind? Are there like what are the repercussions going to be from that? Or
Yeah, and it's actually the prologue of my book is me having that reckoning. Like the one thing that kept me from just jumping into the Housewives pond immediately was my association with the Mormon Church. And I remember talking to a guy at the time who was Lutheran, and he said, "Do you think the Lutheran Church would care if I did a TV show?" And I was like, "But my community will care, my family will care, my church, will care." And they have cared. And I have felt the swift repercussions of not only going on TV and being, inappropriate, but
right.
and betraying kind of the rules I was brought up with, but also doing it so publicly and speaking out about the Mormon Church. I have felt the immediate consequences of that in my life,
Wow.
which would make it hard to leave, which is why I probably never left before, because I knew in my heart and mind what would happen, because I had heard and seen it happen with other people that left the faith.
Right.
And they become persona non grata anywhere and everywhere.
Wow. That's crazy. And yeah, I don't know what other word to use to describe it. With writing the book, because I'm always kind of I feel like when you're on a show like Housewives where it's high drama, high intensity, and you're living it, but then it doesn't air for like 6-8 months later, and then you have to relive it. What is that like? And I guess there's probably some parallels between doing that on television and then with your book, reliving past drama and trauma. How do you approach that?
That's a fantastic question. And I've never actually drawn that parallel, but it is a very insightful one because, we always wish we could do things over. And unfortunately on Housewives, an instant, a moment, a human failing is caught and it is, on celluloid forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like when I was growing up that the choices I was making were also permanent. Like if I made one bad choice, it was also forever, and I would suffer the consequences of that forever. But with Housewives, I have to relive it again, and there's nothing I can do to change it. But when you're rewriting your story, you can look at and give yourself that same compassion, instead of thinking, it's like I'll just think of it as one season of my life when I write about like hard times I've been through, instead of thinking, my divorce defines me, my choices define me, just like maybe I was a villain one season and that doesn't define me any less than the choices I made.
Right. Which is fair. Now, if they took your book and let's say in the best case, I mean, probably very likely this will be a New York Times bestseller, and this book goes wild and crazy, and they decide to make the movie adaptation of it. I've asked other authors this. Who would you want to play you in the movie of your book?
I've been asked this before, and my go-to is always Sarah Paulson
Okay.
because I believe she can play anyone. And I feel like I kind of look like Linda Tripp. So that would be a small step for her.
I
And
know
my
exactly the
big,
reference you're making. I loved that show.
I know she was phenomenal. But lately I've been watching, I mean, I would want any of the strong female character actresses out there. They could do me justice. I'm just a blundering fool. So put them in hair and makeup, and I'm sure they could do it.
That's really funny. Beauty Lab and Laser, your business. What advice do you have for women or people in general who are thinking about taking the plunge and betting on themselves and starting a business? What is something that you have learned that you would want to share with someone about to embark on that journey for themselves?
Well, the first bit of advice I would give is everybody thinks they're an expert and nobody's an expert. And who you are and what you feel should happen is what makes your business unique. And I set out to build a business that didn't exist because I felt like what I wanted, other people had to want too. And so we're so used to going along to get along. I would say to any woman, trust your gut. And if you feel like something, you could improve something, make it better, do it differently, lean in on that and don't take no for an answer because people don't like change. But if change needs to occur and you can make it happen, you can make a booming business.
Do you want to talk about Housewives a bit?
I mean, do you have any burning question that you wanted to ask that you didn't get to?
Will we see your name on, how likely are we to see your name pop up on a prison visitation list? Without,
Oh, highly likely. Oh, I thought you were talking about my boyfriends.
no, no. Will you
Yeah,
be visiting?
I'm already cleared in like 3 federal prisons, so that's not an issue. Okay.
No.
I have pen pals, I have exes. Yeah, I will visit and anybody anywhere, especially if Jen is in a federal penitentiary, I will go without question.
Interesting. Has that, I guess, like, that must be crazy as well to live and be part of that whole thing. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it's kind of,
I mean, I don't really know the ins and outs of it either. Right now, it's just still a friend that's facing a huge thing and taking accountability for it. And so I think she'll have a lot to say after her sentencing. And I think that we'll all be able to speak more freely, after she's actually sentenced and we see what the judge actually thinks of all the evidence.
well, it must be tough for you as well, because if you and she are close friends and you have a friend that's going through this and then seeing the plea and all of this stuff, I mean, yes, the focus is on that individual, but it must be also challenging. Like it must put you in a bit of turmoil as well, watching someone go through this and having to be the support system for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone's conflicted when they want to support someone they love that's done something really bad. You know, people aren't perfect. And even though there are degrees of screwing up, every murderer has a brother and has a sister and has a mom and has a dad. And I would hope has a friend because we're all, for better or worse, just here on this lonely planet trying to, do the best we can.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm morally superior to anyone. I just think, we all make choices and we all have to face those consequences. And I'm going to support my friends if they ask for my support.
That's a really good outlook to have on it. Is there anything, so you're in season 3 of your show right now airing. Is there anything that stands out that you wish you could go back and just pull one scene out of the show and you just kind of think, oh God, I wish that didn't air? Is there one particular thing?
No, I mean, there's 10,000 particular things. 10,000. I hate when I lose my temper, and I don't want my daughters to see me in a cage bra screaming at Whitney. That don't want to be that person, but I am, unfortunately. And this is reality TV. And when you get pushed to a limit and you're also overwhelmed with bullshit, if I can
Mm-hmm.
say
Or you
BS.
can say anything on this show. We had
Oh, hallelujah.
I think when you think of the friend, like there are some iconic women like Vicky Gunvalson and Ramona Singer and Kyle Richard, like people who have done this for like a decade or more on their respective franchises. Is that something you would want for yourself? Would you want in, 10 or 12 years from now to be going into season 19 of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and you're still doing it, like kind of being a Bravo lifer like some of these women?
I mean, I don't know if I'm cut out for that.
Right.
Oh no. I think those women have a stamina and a resilience. And I don't know if any of them are cancers. I'm a cancer. I'm a water sign. I feel deeply. I don't want to destroy any more relationships in my life. And I think that would depend on the women I was on the show with.
Um, Heather, thank you so much. This was really fun.
Thanks for having me. You're so charming and lovely, and edit me well.
Thank you so much, Heather. Have a really great day.
You too. Bye.